Welcome to Beyond Your Radio, a real music appreciation channel. We're on the web at beyondyourradio.com. There are articles as well as links to all our shows. But what is Beyond Your Radio? And why do we say a real music appreciation channel? Honestly, I set this up to talk about music, albums, bands, artists, anything we can get our hands on, right? The state of music, the listening experience. I wanted to include great panelists who love the music listening experience, the diversity in listening, and the pure pleasure of indulging in the artist's creation, which usually means an album. I know some of you will disagree with that, but it should be an album. Truly, we showcase any genre, from some rather large names to those that are nearly unknown. And of course, this channel thrives on not only new albums weekly, but new to you, to us that watch the show or subscribe to the channel, encouraging you to sometimes step outside your listening comfort zone, challenge your listening palette, sometimes open your ears to an album and artist that might be right in your wheelhouse that you didn't even know existed. The greats are always there. They're going to be. I mean, you can argue the 70s and the Beatles versus the Stones, Madonna versus Swift, metal versus punk, hip hop versus prog. We try to immerse ourselves in all of it. There are other channels out there that stick to certain genres and areas, and I understand why. I myself, I can't do this. I love it all, just about it all. I've made mentions of what I have trouble with, and that's fine because I'm hoping to grow in those areas too. The shows on the channel, I attempt daily to give you an album a day. It's called Album for Today. It can be any genre, any style. It's uniquely picked. There's reminders, but I also post it only if I've listened to it. So that doesn't usually happen every day. Sometimes it just doesn't happen. But weekly on the channel, what do we do? Saturdays is always, and it's Album Review Saturday, which is not only on our channel weekly, but the first three major reviews are written in full blog format on our website. No PR crap. I feel like I tell it like it is in my usual style. But for the most part, the show, I'm joined by panelist Deb Armitage Hicks Maloney. Not always, right? Her perspective is always a great addition to mine. She's new to the explorative nature of this and has jumped in with both feet, and sometimes she's drowned. Don't get me wrong. But it's great to have us together, and I love the way it goes. And it's great there because on the blog, you got the three, but in the show, you get more than three. You get double and even more sometimes. Sundays. On Sunday, it's called Unknown Sundays, where I pick an artist, a band, a subject, something that might be relatively unknown to many of the listeners, watchers, collectors out there, or trying to remember something from the past or up to the present, where I might pontificate a bit further. I've been joined by panelists sometimes too, depending on the nature of the artist. Again, that too is any genre, any style. Just to give you a few names I've done M. Greiner, I've done 07. Bi-weekly, these are shows that come every other week. Keep It Dark. This is the show where I go into the darker side of all music genres. The black metal, the dark core, depressing, prolific, gothic, grindcore, industrial, dark ambient. There's a multitude, even soundtracks. Why I do this? Why this kind of music is what I put forward. Why are people listening to this and the connection it makes for some, and it might make for you unknowingly. I also obviously play some of the tidbits of the artist or band, etc., so you get a little piece. Also, bi-weekly is the panelists' favorites show. I invite any and all the panelists in on the topics that have ranged from the greatest electric guitar players, Christmas songs, country albums, albums to take to heaven. Hell, I even did one that the albums that you take to hell, which I wound up doing alone. I'm still burnt about that one. So everyone kind of brings their favorite 5 albums, and then sometimes there's an ability to do honorable mentions, or sometimes it comes in multiple shows because it's just too large a topic. A lot of fun. These are really the fun, greatest banter in the shows. Sometimes these run long, maybe an hour. You know, it's not intentional, and I try to shave them down, but I don't want you to miss anything. So then there's you should listen to. It's almost bi-weekly. Sometimes it gets pushed out because the months don't line up correctly. Here I invite the panelists again to bring just one album though. They bring the one album that they want people's ears to be open to. Something new, something old, but it's new to you. It's sort of like the going, if you love this, if you like this, and if you miss this or this person, then you should definitely check this album out. And every one of the panelists has their own particular style and way that they deliver, and it's always an ear-opening experience. Monthly, Album Wars. This is the most challenging show to produce. But award decree is sent out to the panelists for the month ahead of time so that they can gather their 5 albums that they would bring to the war. Sometimes it's a band versus a band. Sometimes it's just a year. Sometimes it's a different topic. So it can be anything, as you'll find out when you watch the shows. They bring their 5. If other panelists match their 5, that album continues to rise. And as that album rises, that album winds up being in the 4 different brackets. And then we vote on all of those, and a winner is declared. Here's the catch. All of these winning albums will face off in the December show for the final album war. So 11 albums will be going into the war. Now you're wondering where that 12th album comes from? Hang on, we'll get there. Next up monthly is Album Listen Challenge Redux. This is where our creator, Tommy, or our panelists, or you out there who's watching, can suggest an album to listen to. And we put it up for the panelists to score, to give their impressions of. And those categories that they're scored on delivers points. And the one with the most points at the end of the year is going to be moved into the album war. So that's kind of how that goes. Underlying reason for doing this, to offer up these albums challenges, to see and hear what's out there. And obviously, at the end, we always get a final thing as to why the album was selected. There's usually an underlying reason why. That's always the great part, to stay to the end. Also monthly, the big show, catalog review show. This is the big one, the standard one. We discuss and rank the albums of an artist, a band, from any genre and era. We've done from The Who to Catherine Wheel, Faith No More to The Tragically Hip. So no, particular album or no particular band, artist is off limits. We rank, and then we also give our opinion, though, on where they rank in the music multiverse. Sometimes it's not always as legendary as you would think. So let's briefly talk about our special shows. That way you have that idea as well, because we have a couple of those. We do Of Sound Minds, which is a catch-all title where we can discuss anything from outrageous ticket prices to the fate of the NFL halftime show for the Super Bowl, our music listening journeys, how we got there, sometimes meet the panelists, which is going to be coming up soon. We even bring in musicians to have them discuss their field of music, their process of creativity, and of course their love for music. And sometimes I even get them to tell me the albums they take to heaven and the albums they take to hell, because I don't want to go to hell alone. Thank You Forever, which is our most watched shows. Yes, this is where we honor and showcase the memory of an artist that has passed recently in the music industry. While these have a hint of sadness to them, we always do our best to make sure their contribution and memory is the marker for the show. And total reverence here, no matter whether we love their catalog or not, or have a knowledge of their music in depth, we make sure we do. We have recently done Brian Wilson, of course, as well as Chris Christopherson, Robbie Robertson, and Jimmy Buffett, just to name a few. Coming soon, the second half of the year, we will be introducing a game show once a month. It's called Rename That Album. The panelists will compete to give the best renaming of the album, graded on a criteria, of course, and each round is slightly different in the scope of how they can score. This will be released next month in August, so excited about that, because I think we're going to be one of the first channels to have a game show in this kind of atmosphere. I want to thank you, the watcher, the listener, the appreciators, the other YouTube channels that kind of share our love and passion for the art of album making and the art that it still continues to be. Yeah, go to hell, AI. To you out there that comment, it's always awesome. It's invigorating. And yes, sometimes it's even the artists themselves, which, man, you don't know how much we appreciate that. And you know who you are. Join us almost every day if you really love music, if you're looking for something different to hear. That's truly why we're here. Obviously, we're not conventional. I'm not doing tricky titles to lure you in. It is what it is. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Here's a list of the other shows that we've had in the past. They're on our website. You can still go to check those out that way. But don't be ashamed to ask us to have one of them brought back. I've had panelists that asked me to bring it back. Maybe there's some people in Canada would love us to bring back albums from the Leaf. We loved everything we've done. Maybe expect the video quality that we had when we started, but we're still learning and we're still always listening. And always thank you. And as always, Liz here at Beyond Your Radio, happy listening.